Look like it's been longer than it should.
I think it started. It pinged on my end and says we're recording.
Oh, it's on my side still the. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another meetup from Angular APAC. And today we will have Wassim when introducing about the in-depth part of X-Layer, a very cool tool for generate your code from the design file, basically. So before we have Wassim and the talk, I will give some introduction about, like some update from Angular and from Angular team and from the news. But actually, I don't have any. We just met Minko yesterday, and then he was like showing us the roadmap for Angular 13, and technically we can expect some cool feature. For example, there's an optional ng module that we are all looking for, but it is still a myth. And here saying it is not really like he cannot commit to the date yet, but basically the team is working hard on that, and we can see it in the future of the Angular version. So yeah, with that, I will over to my co-host Connie for introducing our host and our speaker and the talk today. Over to Connie.
Okay, so we have Wassim, and he's the senior dev rep of Microsoft. So he must be really smart to be working there, and and then he's the core member of X-Layer and other tools. And then he has a really beautiful daughter, but he only randomly show her picture, right, on Twitter. Yep. So you need to follow his Twitter handler to see family pictures. I think she's almost 2 years old. So
yeah, correct.
Yep. And then
Wassim was also really a big support for us when we were launching Angular Nation, when we first were like preparing to go live and going live. He was really a big support for Samantha and I. We had several meetings actually with Wassim, and he was helping us, and he's amazing. And he's been busy with family and stuff. But I was really excited because I remember when we first launched Angular Nation, we were scared and we didn't know what we were doing, and Wassim was amazing. So we have a lot of love for Wassim around here.
Yeah, I think Wassim is also like, is it like curating like Angular like blog posts?
Oh yeah, DevTO.
Yeah, that's how I like look for potential speakers, like find them before like Angular Air find them, because once they get famous, you can book them here. So I snatch them before Bonnie can.
She brings it to me, and I'm like, yeah. This is where she's getting all the new talent from. I just said I need Connie to be on my team, man. So, but yeah, Wassim. If you don't know Wassim, well, I mean, obviously you know he's super smart, but I'm just saying he's really an amazing human. But let's not get mushy.
Yeah, let's.
I mean, it's amazing that he can actually apply stuff that computer science stuff that we learned from university into an actual project. I mean, I learned compiler at year 4, and then I've never like used it or written it at work. So it's really like refreshing to see some of the old stuff that I learned like 20 years ago. Well, it's actually useful in open source software.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's the best introduction, and thank you for your kind words about baby Naya. Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, and thank you also to Bonnie for keeping my logo suggestion for Angular Nation, because that was like a really fun to build.
I loved it. You see it on the hats now, Wassim.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, let's dive in. I'm a little bit nervous now. So today, our talk for today is trying to demystifying and explaining in very simple manner how UI code generation works. With I'll give you some practical examples using the tool that I and other folks are working on, which is called X-Layers. And basically, this whole talk is about how like what are some of the techniques that we can use to convert a design, a sketch design, into a some code. Basically, yeah, taking this the calendar picker or date picker, excuse me, and outputting some HTML and CSS and even JavaScript code automatically, just using machines. That's why the code looks ugly, because it's not optimized yet. So if we can do this, so what if we can go even, a step further and take our design made by tool, for instance, like Sketch app, and convert it into an Angular component, because this is an Angular talk. I tweeted about this years ago, 2018. So that's when I actually started hacking about this idea, and I built the first demo. That's the video. You can check out the tweet later on. That was the first iteration of X layers, which basically was just like a simple UI, drag and drop, and you get the output. Now that's this is the website of X layers. You can visit it at xlayers.dev. And for instance, you can choose any framework you want from the selection, let's say Angular, and then we give you the option to use, for instance, a demo component from SketchUp, and instantly you get the some like beautiful UI where you can inspect your layers. If you're like wanna know how many layers, what's the the depth between and layeration between each layer. And then the exciting part here is the code generation section, where you get here all the automatically code generated from your component. And then you can, from your design, excuse me, and then you can, for instance, try this component on StackBlitz, or just download the zip archive and use it in your project. And of course, you need to clean it a little bit and add your own logic, business logic, before go into production. Yeah, so this talk, as I said earlier, is a dive deep talk about internals of X layers. If you want to have an introduction to X layers, please check out Jeff's talk, which I think he gave before at Angular Nation. So yeah, Jeff is the other core team member of X layers. So he's a really fun guy and cool guy. Please check him out on the social media, and also check his talk about X layers. So I am Wassim. I work at Microsoft as a senior developer advocate. My focus is on JavaScript, basically, internally, but also externally. And I do a lot of Angular, obviously, and I do a lot of Node.js. And yeah, you can follow me anywhere on the internet if you wanna learn more about JavaScript, about tech, and cute photos of baby Naya. I'm also an open source creator. I build lots of tools. Here are some of them, and yeah, you can check out my website, basically, which is my GitHub profile, wassim.dev. I do a lot of contributions to the open source community, from Angular through Bazel, Nest.js, Node.js. I also was one of the original core members of Angular Universal in 2015 with Jeff Wellplay and Patrick JS. So yeah, understanding the internals of X layers. So before that, of course, we need to understand, we need to talk about compilers and how compilers work, a little bit of theory. As Connie mentioned in the introduction, these are some of the computer science knowledge that, I wish I had, I gave more time when I was at university. I was like basically doing other stuff, just like listening to the professor. Now I regret. But yeah, that's the same knowledge and concept. I'll do my best to demystify all this knowledge just for you to understand how we use these concepts inside X layers. And some of the concepts are also used inside Angular and through Angular IV. So first of all, what is a compiler? So a compiler is a tool, like a program that converts an input program written in one language into another language, or sometimes a binary. So we have like an input, an output, and in between we have this thing called compiler. Actually, in software engineering, we have two types of compilers. We have the program that we call compiler, which is a cross compiler. Actually, that's the program that takes a source code and outputs a binary, like an exec file, or like a binary Java class, or C, like a dynamic library. And we also have, on the other hand, a transpiler, something like Babel or TypeScript. So we give it a source code and it outputs another source code. Like give it TypeScript and outputs JavaScript. A compiler has two faces. Like in order to work, it has like the front end face and another face called back end face. On the front end face, we have lots of internal steps like lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, and a step called intermediate code generation. And on the other hand, we take this intermediate code generation and we apply some optimizations in order to have the final output. So let's start off with the first front end face with the lexical analysis. So let's say we have this JavaScript / TypeScript example code, like let x equals 1 + 2. A lexical analysis will run what we call a scanner in order to scan each character from your input source code. So here we will go from left to right and then start character by character analyzing the string. And whenever we find what we call a valid keyword, we then identify it as a valid and known keyword from the compiler. So here, for instance, we found the let keyword, so we identify this as let keyword. Then we skip all the spaces, all the comments and white spaces. Then the next character is an X. So X is not a valid, not a valid keyword from the compiler. So we identify this as identifier. That's how TypeScript call identifiers. Then we have special characters like equal sign. That's an equal token. And then we have numeric literals. And we have a plus token, and so on and so forth, until we reach a semicolon token. And then from this lexical analysis phase, we create a concrete syntax tree or a parse tree. It's basically just taking all these valid keywords and organize them as a tree hierarchy. So we'll run some analysis on it afterwards. So yeah, what's a valid token? I was talking about that earlier. So in order for a compiler to understand what's a valid token, comparing to like an X identifier, for instance, or like a variable name or things that's not available in a programming language, a keyword that's not available in a programming language. So a compiler will use what we call a grammar. And we have like different grammars. I'm talking here about the regular grammar. A regular grammar is a formal set of mathematical rules that are defined by a person called Noam Chomsky, which basically describes a formal language known as regular knowledge. And putting this into like mathematical expression, we have J equals NTPS. So N is non-terminal symbols. We'll give examples about these definitions on the next slide. T is a terminal symbol, so these are all the symbols that cannot be derived to other symbols. And production rules are the rules that the compiler will use in order to convert or derive some token, some symbol into another one. And the initial state, as its name suggests, is the first, like the initial state of the compilation step. So here, regular grammar, which is, by the way, type 3. So as I mentioned, we have different grammars. This is one of them. This is like most simplest one. Let's say our non-terminal symbols are, let's say, A, B, D, F, G. That's an example here for our grammar. Our terminal symbols are, let's say, these keywords: let, semicolon, x equals plus, and all literal numerics, excuse me, from 0 through 9. Our initial state will go is A and B, so we could start from A or B, and P our derivation rules. So from S we can derive to A, followed by space, followed by B, and then followed by semicolon. And for instance, we will replace A with either let, or, so that's the pipe keyword, that's the pipe here, or a terminal state. Let me give you some examples. So given the rules on the left side, let's say if we imagine a programming language that should match this grammar on the left, so all the expressions here on the right are valid. So let space equals space, excuse me, x equal space equals 1 plus 2, and all the other expressions are valid because they match the grammar on the left, given the non-terminals, the terminals, the initial state, and all the derivation rules. The counterexample is this one. So this programming, this language is not valid because it doesn't match all the derivation rules on the left, nor the initial state. So that's invalid. So I hope that was clear a little bit. Now that we have our concrete syntax tree or parse tree, we will take that and run it through a program called parser in order to generate an abstract syntax tree, or what we call an AST, using another context-free grammar. So what is a context-free grammar? A context-free grammar is a different type of grammar. So the previous one was type 3, excuse me. This one was type 2. It's a set of recursive rules that we will use to generate a pattern of strings based on the initial one. I give you here the link at the bottom here is the grammar of the JavaScript language, the ECMAScript language. So that's the link. You can click on it and you see all the rules that helps validate a JavaScript source code. So for instance, I have a question for you. Is this a valid JavaScript construction? So is it yes or no? So that usually that works when you're like in a conference in person, so people, you can see all the hands. Now I can't see the hands.
We can see you, but we're just all muted, so we have to have a minute to go. And actually, you can if you say raise your hand if you think this is valid, then you'll see a bunch of hands go up.
I mean that should be quite simple, so because I'll give you the answer actually. Yeah, it's a valid JavaScript syntax. So yeah, again, this is like in the syntax here in black is valid JavaScript. Why? But because it's valid against the grammar of ECMAScripts. And I gave you here the snapshot of the rules that actually validate this syntax. So these are basically the grammar for like how to write arrays in JavaScript. So you follow all the rules here. We have the array, the array literal, and we can derive this to a listen, elements, element list, and so on and so forth. And for each non-terminal symbol, we'll find its definition here and then go to all the rules in order to construct the valid terminal grammar, basically. So all of these are valid JavaScript syntax because, again, this is what the grammar says. And yeah, that's something, when you see people yelling at JavaScript on Twitter, this is weird. That's weird because the grammar allows it, actually. So during this step, here is where we also try to handle errors, basically. I give you an example. If we see this error, this is an array in JavaScript, 1, 2, 3. If you, let's say, mistake and, change the last symbol with the, like an object closing symbol instead of an array, this is where typically you'll get this type of errors. I'm sure you know this, you're familiar with this type of error. I've seen it so many times in my code. So an unexpected token, that's because the parser is not expecting this closing symbol. It's expecting an array closing symbol. And then you have this error. So lexical plus syntax analysis are these two phases. We start from a lexer, we give it a regular grammar, type 3. Then we construct what we call a parse tree, which are basically a token, a tree of tokens, which are then passed to a parser, and then we have our abstract syntax tree. And then in between there is a semantic analysis. I'm just like quoting Wikipedia here, because the semantic analysis is basically the process where our compiler will usually, after the parsing and gathering all the or the lexical information, we also gather some semantic, meaningful information about your program. For instance, as I mentioned here, this is where we do type checking or make sure that you declare variable before using it in your JavaScript code. So this is basically all the what you call semantics, like it's meaningful information that the compiler will use in order to better understand the code that you're writing. And coming back to our abstract syntax tree, AST, it's basically a simplified version of the parse tree that we saw earlier. So this is basically where the the person who writes the compiler will basically put anything useful for the program. So here in TypeScript, so I giving you here's an excerpt from TypeScript ASTs. We have the position, the first position, like the beginning and the end of a match token. We have the kind of token that was matched. Is it like a variable statement? Is it like a let keyword, a plus symbol, things like that? And then we create a tree based on all these informations. And then we have sometimes like what we call the lexeme, which are the matched string in your source code. So there are more and more information if you inspect TypeScript AST. I'm just giving you here some examples and most important ones. For instance, the position is useful to identify errors, or if you're doing like refactoring or things like that. And thank you for the AXT Explorer. That's a great website. So that was the first phase of the compilation step. The other phase is the backend. So basically, this is where we take our AST, and we could run either like spit out the code that we want or run some optimizations before or after. It really depends on the type of compiler you're writing. So during the intermediate code optimizations, we can, this is optional, but we can apply tons of different techniques in order to clean up our tree, in order to prepare that for the code generation. So I give you here, these are all links. You can check all the resources. For instance, the constant folding is that, where we take, I'll have some examples, by the way. I'll start from the from the bottom one. The static single assignment, SSA, that's a technique used by the Go compiler, starting from version 1.7, I think, where basically I can't go into more detail because some of these techniques are beyond my knowledge, and specifically the last one. But the thing here is that the Go team compiler, basically re-implemented all the code generation part in order for the same code that generated by Go to run on different CPU architectures, just by applying this technique. We also have things like inline expansion. I think this is used by, this is an example of a technique used by V8 JavaScript engine, where basically we take the body of your JavaScript function and inline it directly into the callee function. Dead code eliminations, that's, the equivalent of tree shaking, but it's more like aggressive technique. And we also have, type check-in, that's like infamous type check-in, and constant fold-in. I have here an example of constant fold-in. That's a technique that Angular uses, by the way, the Angular compiler is using. Or basically, let's say we have this expression like let x equals 1 plus 2. We have our, parse tree on the left side, and we have the optimized code on the right side. So basically, we just crawl the AST and try to, we see if we can fold any static code. Like for instance, 1 plus 2, that's arithmetic there. I mean, we know the answer for sure. So let's apply the results and trying the tree, like optimize the tree, removing all children's and non-useful branches. And then we apply all the optimizations level by level until we end up with just like let x equals 3. So imagine this applied to more complex code, like let's say we have like some JavaScript constructions into your template or your component, your Angular component. So the Angular IV compiler would use this kind of techniques in order to generate the most optimized code for V8. Variable renaming or name mangling is also another technique that some compilers are using, where basically we take the name of your variables and try to rename them into something meaningful, or in order to avoid duplications or name collisions. So that's something that's used, I think, by most of compilers or transpilers. And this is very popular in JavaScript, with JavaScript mangling and JavaScript uglifying, all the stuff. That's the same technique used. Some compilers, like I think the Java compiler, will also use incorporate some semantic information into the variable names while applying this technique. And also during the lexical, the semantic analysis phase, basically, I think they concatenate the memory address of Java classes inside the variable names or class names. If you're familiar with Java, sometimes when you have an error in your console, you have like this Java name with class $01, some numbers and stuff like that. That's the some meaningful information to the compiler, by the way. That's what I'm trying to say. And then our code generation part, that's the thing we're looking for. And that's basically the easiest part, because we're just taking our AST and visiting each node recursively and generating the code that we want based on the information stored in each node. So here we started with the, let's say, TypeScript / ES6 expression, let x equals 1 plus 2, and then generate var x equals 3 for ES5 legacy browsers. So that was the two steps, the two phases, of a compiler, front end and back end. Now, let me take a sip of water. How can we apply this, or how are we applying these techniques in X layers? So X layers, I think you now understand it, is basically our compiler, which will help us take a sketch design and convert it into a HTML file. That's like the simplest use case. So first of all, let me tell you a story. That's how I had the idea of building X layers. So yeah, back in 2018, I was playing around with the Sketch application, and I accidentally used the macOS preview shortcut when you press spacebar on a file, and then you get a preview of the file. So I pressed spacebar on on a file with a Sketch extension, and actually I found out that this file was a zip, like an archive. It was containing some information. This kind of information, like a data entry, images with some PNGs and fonts version. So something not non-binary, not binary. Excuse me. And then this data was intriguing for me. So I took that data entry and inspected with a hex editor, and I found this meaningful information on the right side, especially this one, starting with the BP list. So if you're a Mac user, you probably know this extension. This is like a binary property list file that is used by macOS to store, driver information or basically any configuration for your macOS system or applications. And then the specifications of this format is open source. So it's open source by Apple. And thanks to that, so thank you, Apple, because without these specifications, I wouldn't be able to create X layers. So basically, this is on the right side, this is the specifications of how to parse this binary format. They give you all the information, all the bytes, or everything that you need to check. So it was like the solution here was, I would say, quite simple, and I'm quoting this. Basically, just taking all the specifications and writing a parser in JavaScript in order to extract all the information from the binary data. So they say, okay, the magic number starts at this position, and then the file format is these 2 octets, and so on and so forth. And the last 32 bytes are where the size of the offset is stored, where the size of the object reference are stored, blah, blah, blah. This is not really important for us here. But yeah, the specifications on the right side is basically our grammar. If you can match what we said before. So we have our grammar here. And then we take that grammar and we write a parser that understands grammar in order to parse the binary format that we have on the left side. Yeah, and all the things inside are basically how to navigate inside this data and what's all the types, basically Boolean, integers, or stuff like that. So basically, yeah, taking the binary, I was able to write this BP list compiler. And what I found actually is that the binary data on the left, once parsed, gave me this JSON format on the right side. I was happy because as a JavaScript developer, I understand JSON. So I was really, okay. So what they did actually, they just took JSON and they encoded it into binary inside the Sketch file format. And yeah, okay, so while I tried different files, different Sketch designs, and sometimes I came across this output, this archive entry with some text in it. And again, as a JavaScript developer and a web developer, I understand that this is a base64 token, a string. So there is a function for that in JavaScript. There is no need to write a compiler for that. And yeah, once you take this base64 and decode it, oh, so you get another binary format. What the heck? So okay, just basically just crawling into your JSON decoded and then applying all the lexer, parser, getting AST and crawl back until you basically walk through all the nodes into your JSON format. And one day I was going through the forum on Sketch, the Sketch community, and I see this person happens to be one of the core members of Sketch, some like a Sketch employee. So they say that starting from version 43, they are changing the file format. And then I downloaded Sketch 43, I think it was 44 back then, and zip it. And then, yeah, actually they changed the whole file structure. And as you can see here, there is no binary data because, okay, they simplified my work actually. So yeah, this is all the pages are already in JSON. There is no binary. Sometimes there's still binaries, and I'll give you some examples, I think, afterwards. So yeah, all the work I did was actually useless back then. However, we decided to keep that parser because of legacy versions, because people haven't yet upgraded to version 43, and it's a paid upgrade as also. Okay, I was happy because I was okay. I learned a lot of stuff while building this parser, so it was fun. However, so that was the first part of the story. The other part of the story was also okay. Now we're able to parse all the information extracted from the Sketch file. But then how about CSS? Because the Sketch application uses its own styling information. It's not CSS, it's different style information. So we had to write a CSS parser and also a CSS optimizer in order to generate valid CSS code for the web. So basically for each layer, we had to recursively visit all the nodes in order to extract all the CSS, the style information, and convert that into valid CSS. And here, basically, we applied the infamous, leftmost depth first search algorithm because it was more efficient. We didn't have any many branches, and it also there we haven't had any expensive optimizations to run, because it was basically just extracting the style information, and it was a mapping. Like if I have like a font style, you also convert that into font size information, like CSS properties and all stuff like that. And yeah, was easy to implement because it's like a recursive implementation. And then going from that CSS parsed tree that we have from Sketch, we were able actually to output a CSS tree with all the valid CSS properties, with class names that we generate randomly, and also all the properties. However, we noticed some issues, because as a designer, when you build your UI design, so you click on a layer, you apply some text styling, some basically styles, in all your layers. However, us as developers, when we parse each layer, we found actually some duplicates, because we might have the same width and height, we might have the same opacity values, and we might have like between 5 and 10 identical properties. So we didn't want to output the same duplicates in our CSS code. So we had to optimize this before generating the CSS code. So this is where we basically again go recursively on our CSS tree and try to match if there is any duplicates, then remove all the branches and apply the same class name to each node. And by the way, this this work was done by Jeff, so thank you, Jeff, for that. So yeah, basically, I'm not going into details, but just keeping the same CSS informations and removing all the duplicates, and basically creating, getting all the CSS duplicates properties into one new CSS class, and then taking that CSS class and applying it to all the nodes. And that's finally our pipeline for generating code from ASTs, from sketch design to UI code. It could be here HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but also other different technologies like XAML which is an XML-based UI. Basically, we now currently support all these frameworks. So Polymer, React, Vue, what else? Web components. And can you guess what's this icon for? This like star, the orange star? Because I learned that while preparing my slides. That's actually SVG, if I'm correct. So, anyways, and because let me go back to the previous slide. We have this pipeline here from AST. We apply some optimizations and we output a source code. Here, an example is a web source code like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Can we go even further? Like, can we actually output like iOS code or Android code or anything? Because it's only text. So that's possible, and that's where we need your help, because like Jeff and myself are web developers. We're not iOS developers and Android or whatever. So if you have some ideas on how to do this or want to contribute, please reach out to us anywhere on the internet. We'll be happy to schedule a chat and see how we can do that. That was all for me. And I had just has one last word. I am part of this ecology website, which basically website where you create an account, and it's a subscription-based website. Each month, they plant tree on your behalf all over the world. So if you care about our planet, please create your account there and help everyone. Help us leave a healthy planet to our future generation and children's. And if you don't want to create an account, yeah, I mean, you can sponsor this account there if you want. So that's all for me. These are all the informations about XLayers, and we also have a Discord channel if you want to join and chat there. So yeah, thank you.
I think my brain just grew a little smarter.
I'm sorry.
No,
you should have been more fun.
My IQ is higher now. That was really interesting. I had not really dove down into it. I had, but I hadn't. I think like I saw it on Angular Air, but I have to see it more than once to like just let it sink in. It's really cool, and I like the slides. You always have really cool slides, Wassim.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry about the flow of my speech. I'm starting actually feeling more dizzy right now because of the vaccine. So I'll do my best to answer all your questions. So do you have any questions, by the way?
Yes, I have.
I think you did great.
Please go ahead.
Like I saw the output of the HTML code was there's some div and there's some class, like a random class.
Yes.
Can we do something like a semantic name for the class? Like, I mean, of course, it's difficult. Like, some wrapper is a container, and then inside there's a small thing inside. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely we can do semantic namings. The only thing I didn't mention, because that's mostly related to XLayers and not to our talk today, but the idea behind XLayers that I had in mind when I started the project is I wanted XLayers to sit between the designer and the developer. I didn't want actually to force the designer to learn XLayer. So I didn't want them to change their habits. They used to Figma, they used to Sketch, to InVision, so they should keep that knowledge and just save their files, drag it, drop it on XLayers, and XLayers should understand and generate the code. So this requirement actually has some drawbacks. One of them is semantic naming, because if you want a semantic naming, you have to ask the designer, to add some extra information in their layers, because the compilers is stupid, doesn't understand semantic whatever. It just scans your static design and extract all the meaning information that it can scan. So yeah, we can take the layers name, we can take the property names and figure out some human readable name. That's definitely doable. It just was easier for us to implement random names. And if you open twitter.com and check the generated the HTML, you will see some similarities there. Whenever you apply automatic, an automatic tool to your, to optimize your tool, usually you just drop the semantic information because it's much complex to implement. But that's completely, that's totally doable. If you have any idea about how to achieve this, please reach out to us.
Thank Wassim. Yep, I think you answered my question. Sander, we have Sander here. I think always Sander has a lot of questions about X-Layer.
Woohoo! Sander, go easy on Wassim because he just got, well, Sander actually just got his vaccine the other day too. So Sander knows what Wassim's going through right now.
Vaccines,
I'm actually surprised to see Sander. How are you feeling, Sander?
You're muted, Sander.
Vaccine bros.
Yeah. Today I'm better. I'm just a little bit feverish. Yesterday I was really not that well. I was having muscle aches all over my body and severe fever. So
Wassim's like, yep.
I confirm. I can't feel my arm right now, actually.
Well, I cannot lift my arm, but yeah.
But it's fun. All right.
It's probably in a couple of weeks we are free to travel again. So
NGBE.
Yeah.
Your vaccine passport. It's important now.
Yeah, that's the next thing I have to arrange for.
I really was going to say I'm not going to start going to conferences again because I was traveling so much and I kind of got burned out on it. But I have a special place in my heart for NGBE. And really and Vikings. I love the Vikings. So yeah, I do miss it. Oh, Simon got his vaccine too. See, everybody's slowly starting to get vaccinated. I have not gotten my vaccine yet, but I'm getting excited.
Did you get an appointment?
No, I called and I left a message and they didn't call me back yet. But I also went to that website that you sent me. And then it just said the website's too busy right now. Check back later. And I checked back 3 times and it's still busy. So apparently I'm not the only one trying to get a vaccine right now. I'm sure everyone listening who doesn't have a vaccine will know, like, yeah, it must be nice. We all want them. Thank you. So for those of you who already got your vaccines, you can complain, but don't complain too much because we're jealous. We would be fine to have a fever for a day if we had a vaccine. It would be cool. But we'll get there.
Are you using Safari to access that website? Because there was the same problem with my...
I was using Chrome, I think.
Oh.
So is there a question about the...
Do you have a question for Wassim about X-Layers?
Compilers or X-Layers or... I think Sander knows X-Layers.
I know a little bit about X-Layers. I'm working a little bit with Jeffrey, and every now and then he tells about this. So I mean that it's not a tool that I would use, but because I have no use case for it, it is quicker for me to just build the damn thing.
That's what he said about GraphQL. Don't take it personally. But it is really cool for when you have like a design. And because I actually used to, when I first started web development, this was literally like I was taking a Photoshop mock-up and making it into CSS. Like that's literally what my job was when I first started doing development. So for something like that, I think this would be, I wish that I had X-Layers back then. Well, I wouldn't have had a job. That was literally my job. So it's a good thing that we didn't have it back then, Wassim. I wouldn't have had any work to do.
And it's not done yet, actually. We have more in on our radar. For instance, like if anyone is familiar, by the way, with Figma, we'd love to chat with you because we have lots of requests from the community to add support for Figma. But because of the time and I'm not a Figma user myself. So yeah, if you want to contribute a fun project, please let us know.
Yeah, if they want it that bad, provide a layer for it.
I made a note because I know a lot of people, I meet a lot of people through this community. So I made a note to watch for someone Figma and match them up.
Yep.
Like you guys are like that, you know, that old child's game where you match up the pieces. I play this game with people all the time, so I'll keep an eye out.
And I mean, yeah, this talk I talked about compilers, parsers, whatever. But you know, if you want to contribute to Xlayers, you don't need to know about all this stuff because it's already done. It's, you know, the core of Xlayers. We have like some sort of public plugin system. So if you want to add more languages, or except if it's like a non-web technology like iOS, Android, so then we'll have to review some of the core design. But if it's anything, you know, adding a new new design tool, that should work. You don't need to know anything about compilers. Don't be scared.
I just built a tool to analyze projects for unused inputs and outputs on components and directives. So that was fully using AST. I'm going to make this open source pretty soon.
Yep.
So that was a nice exercise in ASTs.
So yeah, I mean, the TypeScript AST is very, very powerful. It has so many information. I mean, we don't use it on Xlayers, but yeah, it has a lot of use cases, like the one you said, like, you know, basically, I mean, obviously schematics as well. That's a different topic.
Actually, there is also a template AST, which is a little bit more difficult to work with. But once you get the hang of it, it's cool.
All right, so I think we're reaching our time. Thank you for the invite. I was super happy to join you. And sorry, Bonnie, I haven't been very present on Angular Nation.
I can't believe that Microsoft and your family are more important to you than I am, Wassim. That's crazy. Like, just because they pay you.
Not Microsoft. My family is more important.
Your family comes before us. Wow. No, I'm just kidding. I don't blame you. Your family is beautiful and adorable, and I think that is a fabulous way to spend your time. And I know you have a lot of exciting things going on. And I'm just really happy that you were able to stop by and see us today. And I hope that you will join us more, because I love you, and I think it's great to have you here.
I promise you I'll join you back. So I'm just looking for the perfect timing. Now, I was actually like the last 10 months, I was working on like some internal toolings that we recently announced, the Static Web App CLI. So that's what kind of like my baby. I was working on it, you know. Now it's released, so we'll have more time to work on content, and yeah, I'll be happy to go back to Angular Nation.
Chow would like to do an Azure CLI talk. Is that a possibility?
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm working on. So yeah.
Well, you can come back and talk about that. And also, if you watch our calendar for the Ask an Angular GDE, you could join us for that, and you don't ever have to prepare anything. You just show up like Sonder and ask and answer. They just ask us questions and we answer them. So there's a lot of stuff you could just join us and not prepare. But yeah, we would also love to have an Azure talk. We want more, Wassim, but so does everybody. It's cool. We get it. But today we should let you go so that you can get some rest. And we're very grateful to you for showing up today. And you look great, even though you got stuck.
Thank you. I'm walking through the Angular Nation website right now. I mean, now you have more and more categories than the start.
You should. Yeah, we have channels. We actually have in here right now is the host of our Angular Africa channel. And I think we have the South Asia channel. We have the hallway track every month with the Angular team. We're going to have Meet the Cypress. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you because it's all confirmed. I just haven't put it up there yet. We have Meet the Cypress team coming next Thursday afternoon. And we had Meet the Storybook team last week. The Storybook team is coming back. They had so much fun that they made a Storybook channel. So yeah, we have a lot of cool, exciting stuff coming up.
So you have Gleb coming from Cyprus?
Huh?
You have Gleb coming from Cyprus?
No, I talked to Gleb and he sent us Adam because Adam is actually focused on Angular. And I had a meeting with Adam last week and he's amazing. You guys are going to love this guy. He is so cool. And he's excited also about working more with the Angular community. So that's going to be cool. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, I know we're over time, but I just want to give everybody a heads up because we have this Angular mentor program that we've been trying to start. We had a bunch of people sign up and everybody's been waiting. And the thing is, it took a while for us to manually match everybody up. But I just want you to know I finished it today. And so I'm just letting everybody look it over. But over the next couple of days, hopefully by the end of the week or definitely next week, everybody who signed up for that should be hearing from us and getting your mentors and proteges, and you're going to match up. It's going to be cool. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming.
So Bonnie, I forgot to mention something about X layers. It's all written in Angular.
Oh, we know. Well, I mean, I've been following X layers for a
Yeah,
while.
I mean,
So
for other folks in the
yeah.
talk, yeah. I mean, if you wanna like get dirty with Angular, X layers is the perfect project. So we're using NX, we are using ngXS for the state management, and we are using the Monaco editor for the text editors and stuff like that. But material design, so it's everything Angular from start to finish. Not yet Angular 12 because I haven't had time to upgrade. By the way, yeah, if you want to upgrade to Angular 12, we'll be happy to merge your request.
Wassim, how would you feel if you had somebody that came up and said, like, hey, we want to help with X layers, but we're not really that experienced yet with Angular, but we want to learn Angular. Could you like find a junior developer tasks for them to learn?
I mean, yeah, I'll work with them. Yeah, no worry, definitely.
So there you go. So if you're not that confident with Angular and you just want some work to do to get your skills up and you want somebody to help you and give you like feedback and stuff like that, then Wassim will put you to work and teach you along the way.
Oh, if only I didn't have a day job.
Thank you so much, Wassim.
I'm lucky to be working at Microsoft, so this is part of my job actually. Doing
yeah, that's
source.
better. Well, Scully is part of my job, so that's nice too. But right now I'm on a different project.
By the way, Sander, I owe you per request for Scully. It's on my to-do list.
Good. I was about to ask about that, but
yeah, it's you know, we had the build conference last week. It was taking lots of our time, but now it's done. So I'll get back to work.
Thank you.
I love it when the experts start talking to each other about what they're working on next. Just like a little preview of what we're going to see on GitHub.
I mean, no, that's not no secrets in here. It's just like we released on Microsoft. We released a tool called Azure Stack Web Apps, basically a Jamstack hosting service. And I worked personally on integrating Scully with this product. So and I have to write documentation now. So I will send the documentation to the Scully IO blog post.
Cool.
That's awesome. You're also welcome to, if you want to, post on, and actually, I think Oyamid is here. He runs our Angular Beginners channel. We have an Angular Beginners channel, and if you want to, you're welcome to go in there and post and let people know that you're looking for some help with docs and stuff like that. And just if you could get somebody to come in and you could just put them to work.
Sure, yeah. I'll take some time to navigate through Angular Nation and see all the new cool channels.
Yeah, or maybe Oya, it would be good for you to keep an eye out for somebody that would be interested in if you find somebody that's interested. Because if he posts it, I don't want him to get like bombarded with a bunch of people that want to learn Angular. But if you find somebody that actually wants to help, it's a great opportunity.
Oh, sure thing. I'll start working on that right away.
And I'm agreeing with Chow about this. What Netlify, Azure? No, I think we need we need a demo. We need to like have a little hello world, I think.
I mean, yeah, Netlify is a really awesome product, and Firebase as well. It's just like, you know, Microsoft. We have this. I mean, this product for Microsoft for Azure users. So we didn't have like a fully integrated experience up to now. So with GitHub Actions and this new tool called Azure Stack Web Apps, you will be able to have like similar experience as Netlify and Firebase and Vercel, all these cool projects.
We need to have a little Hello World demo. Speaking of which, and I was talking to the Storybook team and the Cypress team about this as well, that because we have a lot of people who want to do talks that don't have any experience at all. And if that sounds familiar to you, if you want to do a talk and you don't have any experience, we could actually pair you up with somebody like Wassim. Like if you wanted to do a talk about Azure, like Hello World, super beginner, like that we could pair you up with an expert to help you prepare the talk and even do the talk together. And then, Yeah, we have a lot of experts who would. So Wassim, are you going to be doing a talk? Are you going to be doing talks about Azure, like Hello World? Are you planning that already?
So yeah, I have a talk on June 30. Like that's for like an official Microsoft conference about this, specifically the CLI, because that's a project I worked on. But yeah, I mean, myself and other colleagues, we have like tons of content about static web apps because it's a new product, so people need to know about it.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, we want to know all about it. There is a call for papers channel here in Angular Nation. So if there's ever anything, and you can tell your colleagues as well, especially you have some really cool colleagues. They've hired up a lot of people that are you still working with Simona?
So actually, Simona is my manager.
Will you tell her that I said hello and I love her?
And yeah, I mean, John Papa is my mentor at Microsoft.
I love them. Well, tell them that we are always happy to hear about what they're working on. And we have this Call for Papers channel where you can post anything that you want to talk about. And then we have all of our channel hosts and other meetup organizers like Jeffrey and a bunch of others that watch that. And then we also have Connie, who is like the ultimate scheduler. She will get you on everything. So I have actually stepped down and given my because it used to be me and now it's Connie. Connie's just scheduling everything all the time. So yeah, just let us know what you have and we'll get you on the calendar.
I have a question for Connie. Is that an Angular Nation logo I see on your hat? That's awesome.
Yeah. Connie sent it to me, so I'm wearing it like
that's cool.
Whatever chance I have.
We've been sending out, I think we're actually starting to get to we had a big box of them and Samantha's been sending out hats and we're starting to run low on hats. So we might have to get some more.
So yeah, I'll definitely check the CFP channel and because I have like tons of ideas about not even Microsoft concerned, like Node.js, TypeScript, IoT, because I love IoT as well. So definitely I have some ideas there.
Absolutely. Well, that would be great. We would love to see you in all the channels. We would love to see all of you because there are a lot of people here that want to learn more stuff. And Chow, I believe that Samantha is working on the swag store like today, I believe. It is happening. Everybody's asking us for hats. It's like we don't have that many. So we're gonna put up a swag store very soon.
All right, so I will stop the recording, and with that, we see you next time then. Wassim, you can use the same link that I sent you before.
Yep. Just one last question: is the recording will be